So this is principle 1 of Ubuntu, the principles of respect. I will not harm or disrespect others, for the well-being of all is my well-being. I'll respect the lives of other human beings. What it means. The principle encapsulates the essence of Ubuntu by emphasizing the importance of respecting others. By not harming or disrespecting anyone, we contribute to the harmony and well-being of the entire community. Respect is like the glue that holds the social fabric together. It's a deep appreciation for the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. When you respect someone, you acknowledge their rights, feelings, and boundaries. It's about treating others the way you want to be treated. Respect involves courtesy, empathy, and recognizing the diverse perspectives and experiences that make each person unique. Essentially, it's the foundation for healthy and positive relationships, fostering a sense of equality and understanding in human interactions. Criminal acts that involve harming others can take various forms and include a wide range of offenses. Ubuntu condemns, prohibits, disapproves these criminal crimes involving harm to others. Assault, the intentional infliction of physical harm or threat or physical harm on another person. Battery, the intentional and unlawful use of force or violence against another person resulting in physical harm or injury. Homicide, the unlawful killing of another person, which can be classified as murder, manslaughter, or justifiable homicide, depending on the circumstances. Robbery, the use of force, intimidation, or threat to take another person's property or possessions. 5. Kidnapping, illegally abducting and restraining another person against their will, often with the intent of demanding a ransom or causing harm. 6. Sexual assault, non-consensual sexual contact or intercourse with another person, including rape and other forms of sexual violence. 7. Child abuse, the physical, emotional, or sexual abuse of children by caregivers or other adults. 8. Elder abuse, the mistreatment, neglect, or exploitation of elderly individuals, often by caregivers or family members. 9. Domestic violence, the pattern of abusive behavior, including physical, emotional, and psychological abuse within an intimate or familial relationship. 10. Stalking, a pattern of unwanted and often intimidating attention or behavior directed at another person, causing fear and distress. 11. Human trafficking, the illegal trade of individuals, often involving forced labor, sexual exploitation, or involuntary servitude. 12. Aggravated assault, a more severe form of assault that involves the use of a deadly weapon or intent to cause harm, severe bodily harm. 13. Arson, the act of intentionally setting fire to another person's property, potentially causing harm and endangering lives. 14. Terrorism, acts of violence and intimidation carried out with the intent of causing fear, terror, and harm to a population or a government. 15. Burglary, including entering a building or property with the intent of committing a crime such as theft or assault. 16. Carjacking, the use of force, intimidation to steal a vehicle from its owner. 17. Hate crimes, criminal acts that are motivated by prejudice or bias against a particular race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or other characteristics. 18. Assault with a deadly weapon. A crime involving the use of a weapon to commit an assault, which can result in a more severe penalties. 19. Manslaughter. The unlawful killing of another person without premeditation, often due to negligence or recklessness. 20. Animal cruelty. The intentional harm or mistreatment of animals, often involving physical abuse or neglect. So these are all the crimes that Ubuntu actually condemns, right? Now let's continue reading with gender-based crimes. The principle of respect also includes distaste and disgust for gender-based violence, gender-based crimes. Ubuntu also condemns, prohibits, and disapproves of gender-based crimes, criminal acts that specifically target individuals based on their gender. These crimes are often motivated by gender-based biases, prejudice, or discrimination. Gender-based crimes can manifest in various forms, and they are concerning issue that affects both men and women. Some of these activities may not be viewed as crimes in societies where they are generally accepted. Therefore, it is imperative that we understand what these actions are. Crimes, right? Number 1, domestic violence. We already read that. It involves the physical, emotional, psychological abuse typically committed by one partner against another within an intimate relationship. While both men and women can be victims, women are disproportionately affected by domestic violence. Sexual assault. Sexual assault encompasses a range of non-consensual sexual activities, including rape, unwanted sexual advances, and harassment. Victims can be of any gender, but women are more frequently targeted. Sex trafficking. This crime involves the recruitment, transportation, or harboring of individuals for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Women and girls are disproportionately victimized in sex trafficking. This is a huge one, right? Female genital mutilation, FGM. This is repugnant, right? FGM refers to the cutting or removal of a female's external genitalia for non-medical reasons. It is harmful practice that predominantly affects women and girls in certain regions. Ubuntu condemns this action. Honor killings. Honor killings are murders committed by family members against a person, usually a woman, who is perceived to have brought shame or dishonor to the family. This has to stop. That definitely has to stop. 6. Forced child marriage. Forced child marriage involves compelling individuals, often young girls, into marriages against their will. It can have severe consequences for their well-being and freedom. Side note, girls should grow up into adult women before they marry. 20 years old, right? 20 years old is a good age where people should be considered as adults. Not 18. 20 years old. So, 7. Cyber harassment. Online harassment, including threats, stalking, and the dissemination of explicit content, can disproportionately target individuals based on their gender, especially women. 8. Sexual harassment. This involves unwelcome sexual advances, comments, or behaviors in the workplace or other settings. Women are often primary victims of sexual harassment. Dowry-related violence. In certain cultures, violence against women can be linked to disputes or dissatisfaction over dowry payments, right? If you don't know what a dowry is a payment you make when you're trying to marry a woman, right? Like the family may ask you, I don't know, maybe $5,000 or maybe like and cows along with it, so you could purchase your wife, right? And sometimes if there's disputes against the dowry price, maybe it could be too high, maybe it's too expensive. There can be fights that happen, and sometimes the violence are taken out on the woman. That can happen. All these things can happen. But as we can see, Ubuntu condemns that, right? Femicide. Femicide refers to the intentional killing of women or girls because of their gender. It is a severe form of gender-based violence and a violation of human rights. Femicide can occur within the context of domestic violence, sexual violence, human trafficking, or a result of discriminatory cultural practices. Femicide is a global issue, and its prevalence varies across different regions and cultures. It is often rooted in deeply ingrained gender inequalities, discriminatory attitudes, and societal norms that perpetuate violence against women. The motives behind femicide can include misogyny, control, power dynamics, and a sense of entitlement. Femicide is huge, right? Women are often victims and eradicated just because of their gender, because they're viewed as the weaker sex. This has to stop. So as you can see, these are all the gender-based crimes. These are all crimes that committed because of someone's gender. And we can see that both men and women can be victims of this, but in particularly, women are more affected by these gender-based crimes. Or you could say gender-based violence. These are deplorable actions. Quote, though we may earn lower salaries, be relegated to lower positions, work triple workdays, be judged for our clothing, be subjugated to sexual, physical, and psychological violence, killed daily by our partners, we will not be silenced. Our lives matter. This is by Marielle Franco. She's a Brazilian woman. And you know, this chapter is very dense, right? This one, respect, right here, the principles of respect, as you can see, is very dense, right? So let's talk about objectification. Objectification is an act that involves treating a person, especially their physical body, as a mere object or commodity without considering their uniqueness, emotions, and ability to make their own choices. This term is often used in discussions concerning gender, where individuals, particularly women, are often dehumanized and reduced to objects as desired instead of being acknowledged as independent and equal human beings with their own thoughts and feelings. Objectification is totally disrespectful, and Ubuntu is against and prohibits the objectification of human beings. Key aspects of objectification include: 1. Reducing to physical attributes. Objectification involves focusing on and valuing a person solely on their physical appearance or specific body parts, neglecting their personality, thoughts, and emotions. This is huge. We got to be honest, right? We have to be honest. Sometimes sometimes men, we objectify women because of certain body parts like their butt or their breasts or whatever, their lips, their feet, whatever the case may be. We don't even take into consideration their humanness, right? Their thoughts and emotions. We just consider them as tools to relieve our sexual, frustration or sexual pleasures on. But that's wrong, right? Denying agency. The act of objectification is often used to strip individuals of their agency and autonomy, reducing them to mere passive objects instead of recognizing them as active subjects with their own unique desires, preferences, and inherent rights. This practice diminishes the individual's sense of worth and can lead to negative consequences such as objectification, harassment, and discrimination. It is crucial to acknowledge that and respect every person's individuality and autonomy to create a more inclusive and equitable society. You know, when you deny somebody's agency and autonomy, now you're starting to take control over their lives, and they have no say whatsoever, right? Pretty much you're just relegating that person to a servant, a slave kind of, where you're forcing them to do things and they have no control, they have no say whatsoever about their own lives. And that's huge. That's a big mistake. You know? We don't even consider their own desires and preferences. We don't take that into consideration. It's like we're not giving them a choice at all, pretty much. Right? Instrumentalization. When someone uses another person merely as a tool to achieve their own objectives, without considering their individuality, desires, and decision-making abilities, it is considered as treating them as a means to an end. It is a disregard for their autonomy and a violation of their dignity as human beings. This behavior can lead to emotional harms, feeling of dehumanization, and a loss of trust in others. These one-night stands, these hookups, those are very bad. That's what instrumentalization means, right? Where you just pretty much use somebody as a tool and nothing else. It's just a means to an end, right? I mean, it doesn't have to apply sexually as well. It could apply in many different ways, where you just use somebody for your own agenda and then you disregard them and you toss them aside after they've completed the mission, or after you've completed the mission or got your goal. You just toss them aside. That's wrong, because now you're using them as a tool. And that could lead to, like you said, emotional harm, feelings of dehumanization, and loss of trust in others. How many times, we have women who felt used, right? Because they felt like a tool, and now they have their walls up, and they no longer trust men. You see? Or same thing with men, right? Men are often used as tools, seen as ATM machines, right? And they feel used as well. And now they can't trust women. So be careful of that. Number 4, dehumanization. Objectification can lead to dehumanization of individuals, viewing them as interchangeable things or disposable, rather than recognizing their unique humanity. this is probably one of the biggest flaws or the biggest concerns of objectifications, right? Because now you're treating somebody less than human. Now you're not treating this person as a human being. You're dehumanizing them. You're kind of treating them like an animal, like a subspecies of the human race, right? And this is what objectification looks like. And it's hard because we're surrounded by a culture, especially nowadays, wherever you are in America, Africa, South America, the Caribbean. We see a lot of visuals on TV. Both men and women are objectifying themselves. But it's the wrong thing to do because now you no longer view them as human beings. You just see them as sexual objects. You see them as animals to tame, animals to control, animals and slaves that you can do whatever with. See? 5. Impact on well-being. Being objectified can have detrimental effects on an individual's mental and emotional well-being, contributing to feelings of devaluation, shame, and reduced of self-worth. Side note, men and children can be objectified as well. So it's not just only women, but men and children can be objectified as well. Be careful of that. So I'm going to stop this video. I don't want it to be too long, but I hope this helps. I will continue with the principle of respect, part 2, and we're going to continue from verbal abuse.